Hello, I'm Mark from PCGamesN, and I'm here with PC Gaming's very own James Bond. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Scott Jones, Mr. Richard Scott Jones. And we're here to talk about...
Cyberpunk 2077.
So Rich, you've just been to see Cyberpunk at Gamescom. What did you see?
So we saw the E3 demo again. It's still not been released to the public yet, so it's the number of people who've actually seen it in person and in the flesh is still fairly low. Basically, if you're not familiar with what the E3 demo was, it's about an hour's worth of gameplay footage, or what looks like gameplay footage. And honestly, it looks finished. I mean, it looks pretty much done. Obviously, that could well be misleading because there wasn't anyone in the room actually playing it live. It looked like it was on rails. It looked like it was scripted, but there were things, little things like the player misses a couple of shots. It raises the question about how much of that sort of thing could be faked. There were mistakes. It looked like very organic gameplay. So it makes me think that there's an internal build running somewhere, and maybe they've just polished the critical path that the player follows on this particular demo. But it looks like this particular segment looks like natural gameplay and looks finished. It could very well be that as I say, the world outside of this particular critical path is in a very rudimentary state. So, in terms of what we can draw definitively about the game's readiness from this particular demo, it's kind of hard to say. I wrote a piece for our site, which you can check out, which sort of tried to argue that we should expect it sometime next year. I felt like I was like a jolt into making that prediction because it's a bold prediction. I think a lot of people have been pointing out that the 7th of July, i.e. the 7th of the 7th, year to 2020, would be a good release date. I think it'll be then or possibly before, but probably not. And I think from what we've seen of the demo so far, it looks like it's. I mean, I could well believe that it'll be ready for then. But yeah, it's an on-rails gameplay demo, so it doesn't really. It'd be foolish to draw too many conclusions. But yeah, it looks pretty stunning.
So from the hour gameplay that you've just seen, was there anything that actually jumped out towards you, or? Yeah.
There's lots of cool moments that. So I mean, there's a Rockerboy in the game's lore called Johnny Silverhand, and one thing that I noticed that I don't know has been widely reported, maybe it has, somewhere on some dark corner of the internet that we're not aware of, but like, there's a moment in the demo where someone says Johnny Silverhand's last ride was about a year ago, and this is 2077. That's the actual date of the game, which is way in the future compared to the original Cyberpunk 2020 tabletop game. In which I believe that Johnny Silverhand is a fairly major established living presence. So that, indicates that he's quite recently died. Maybe that sort of suggests something about augmentations or treatments that extend characters' lives in this universe. Maybe it's just that he's just very old when he died or something like that. But that's an interesting detail that I noticed. And there's just lots and lots of really, really cool things that we haven't really seen in games before. So the character picks up a bunch of weapons along the way, and one of them is a tech SMG that has a module fitted which traces the predicted ricochet pattern of the bullets that it fires, and then that line appears on your HUD, and so you can lean around corners and aim the ricochet line to hit someone behind cover. So you can deliberately shoot bullets into walls, bounce them into people behind cover, which is just really cool. And then there's a bit where you have there's a pretty sophisticated dismemberment system, which was shown off with a katana and a shotgun, and the player at one point slides along the ground. It looks like your character will be fairly maneuverable, able to navigate the environment in lots of ways. You'll be able to slide, and then they pull up the shotgun and shoot at someone's legs, and it literally blows their legs off of their body, and their torso lands on the floor in a mess of gore. And the character will actually go, "Oh my god, my legs, my legs!" So they'll react to that. And there's another moment where the mantis blades which fold out of her arm. The character in the demo actually uses those right at the end, climbs along the wall, jumps off the wall, lands on someone, impales them in the face with a mantis blade. The guy who was presenting the demo said you'll be able to develop your character in lots of different ways. We've heard about the base classes, but it sounds like there'll be a sort of organically developing multi-class system where you pull in skills or attribute points and then sort of create your own playstyle. And the guy said that, you know, this approach where you sort of crawl along the walls with your mantis blade, sort of infiltrate places in cunning angles and things. I imagine they're probably silent kills, although we were in combat at the time, so it didn't show. But yeah, it's quite clear there's going to be a stealthy playstyle. But a stealthy playstyle in this game doesn't mean a stealthy playstyle in any other game. It's not like, you know, crouching behind cover with a silent sniper rifle or a silenced pistol or anything like that. It is scuttling along walls with mantis blades. You know, it's not. The way they've taken the lore of the setting and implemented it in the way that you actually play and the augmentations and the equipment that you get is just so inventive, and the two dovetail together so neatly that I just don't think you can make any assumptions about how the game will play. It brings some actual genuine innovation based on a setting's lore to the way that classes develop and to the way that you can make an approach to a playstyle. You know, I can't think of anything, just from the look of this gameplay, again, let's not get too hyped, but like, I can't think, on current evidence, I can't think of a game that was this inventive in the way that it married lore and gameplay approaches and sandbox tactics and emergent gameplay and stuff since probably the original Deus Ex. Yeah, it was really pretty impressive.
That all sounds really interesting. But what exactly did the character actually do in the demo?
So we start in what was called a mega apartment or a mega building. Really, really tall, sort of Megacity 1 2000 AD style, massive concrete block. If you've seen the Dredd movie, the recent Dredd movie with Carl Urban, who does some wonderful chin acting. Brilliant, brilliant film. That's the sort of like size and scale of structure you can imagine. Looks very dingy, much like the building in that film did, but every sort of lot in the building is loads of different random apartments. Like there's apartments, there's shops, there's a fighting arena. Everything's neon, everything's acidy, everything's dingy. Yeah, it looks pretty funky. And there's a moment where you walk out of the building and the night city sort of unfolds in front of you. Flying cars, citizens moving everywhere, having organic conversations to the sides, news announcements, neon displays. It's, yeah, splashes of color and scale, and it is very impressive. Like sort of wandering out onto Hyrule, what is it, Hyrule Plain in Zelda? Sorry, I don't play much Zelda. That moment, it feels very, very revelatory. And then we get involved in, I won't say too much because it's all been picked over before, but then we get involved in like this conflict essentially between a gang of a psycho gang being the term for an especially violent gang, and they deliberately have this obsession with technology, and they deliberately dehumanize themselves by sticking in loads of orgs. And as we've noted before, there's a humanity cost to augmenting yourself, and you get like further and further and further away from, you know, your sense of self as you replace bits of yourself with machinery. And they're all in on that. Like their leader has basically the entire front half of his head missing and is replaced by just a bunch of random lights. It looks pretty badass, but really quite sickening, almost disturbing. Like the bit in the trailer with the lady who's doing her makeup has the bottom half of her face missing. So they have stolen a piece of military equipment from one of the mega corporations, very powerful. There is a corporate agent working for the mega corporation, who's trying to get her equipment back. And then there's also a fixer from the Night City underworld who wants us to reclaim that equipment on his behalf. And we can sort of like pick and the character in the trailer, in the gameplay demo, the presenter opened it up to the floor. He said, which of these decision points do you guys want to take? Do you want to warn the gang about the virus that the corporate lady has put on the credit chip that she's going to use to pay them? Do you want to not tell them and install the chip and support the corporate agent and let her plan pay out? Or do you want to tell the corporate lady to go screw herself and take the spider bot and hand it over to Dexter DeShawn? And like, there's lots and lots of, like, you can maybe, what wound up happening in the demo is that 2 of the 3 parties were satisfied. The corporate lady got her the gang taken out. The Dexter DeShawn got the spider bot, and the gang all got killed. And like, you can quite clearly take different decisions at all of these different breakpoints and make your allegiances with all of these different groups, which is, you know, really exciting. And they're all They're all different in lots of really interesting ways. So there is, I mean, I can absolutely see myself playing through multiple ways. In the base game, in the tabletop game, the corporate class gets loads of really exciting perks. Like they can call up corporate reinforcements and just have like a bunch of suits come up and bash people over the heads, or they can get like corporate perks like corporate weaponry, which is some of the best in the game lore, or like a corporate car. And then I can see myself playing as like a Rockerboy sort of charisma fueled champion of the streets, sucking up to people like Dexter Deshawn, and maybe there's another. And like the level of depth that CD Projekt Red are inviting us to imagine exists in all of these different avenues with these kinds of, with that demo is super exciting. Obviously, we still have to see whether or not they can deliver, but if building hype is what they wanted to achieve, then yeah, like consider me hyped.
Well, if you're excited for Cyberpunk, let us know down below, and also let us know what playstyle you're going to take. Once again, you can view all our videos from Gamescom over on our channel, and remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you later.
Take care.